We begin the film with our protagonist. Alex is a retired former world martial arts champion who now runs his own fighting school and lives a quiet life teaching his practitioners. In most of his training sessions, Alex not only teaches self-defense, but he also tends to leave a life message to his students. One day, while preparing his equipment, his partner Julie informs him that 4 new practitioners have just joined. There is also a professional boxer who keeps making calls. He wants to challenge him to a fight. In fact, he posts videos trying to provoke him. He believes his retirement was because he was afraid of him. He was rising like foam, and Alex decided to retire to avoid facing him. In other words, he calls him a coward, so he won't look bad in front of his fans. Julie tells him that she responded to one of his videos, but she did it in a professional way. What she would really like is for him to put him in his place. The master points out that Gomez is a special fighter. Besides, he left the major leagues several years ago. He thinks it would be difficult to beat him. At that moment, a mother appears to enroll her son in the classes when she sees that the master is a very friendly man. Samantha also decides to sign up for some private lessons. While they train, Alex tells her she knows how to move. She seems to be progressing better than a beginner. After the classes end, the girl's ex-husband appears to pay for Terry's lessons. When he sees Samantha sweating, he approaches in a superior manner without even greeting the master. Alex tells him they were training in a private class. They offer them to parents the first time they bring their children. If he likes, he could also take it. Victor replies that it is not necessary, that in fact he already has the knowledge, but that he simply has not practiced it in a long time. He has friends who know quite a lot. Now he only hits the punching bag in the patio of his house. Alex gives him his son's registration and asks him to sign it. He will make sure his son becomes a great student. The next day, after finishing Samantha's training, Alex asks if she has plans for the afternoon. She tells him she will be with Terry's father. She says goodbye, and when she was about to leave, she decides to return to invite him on a date that night. As night falls, they meet to carry out the date, and at the restaurant, Alex tells her he has had 5 spine surgeries, 2 shoulder reconstructions, and a metal plate in one leg. In his last fight, he lost the title. The doctors advised him to retire. For that reason, he decided to step away. Now his school is his only priority. Then Samantha tells him that she divorced Victor 3 years ago. But it seems he still hasn't accepted it. She wants to rebuild her life, but Victor still cannot forget her. After finishing dinner, in the background we see Victor spying on his ex-wife from a distance. The next day, he shows up at the gym to cancel his son's registration. Julie asks the reason, to which Victor replies that he doesn't like that an idiot is trying to take advantage of his woman. Upon hearing his words, Alex approaches and Victor begins insulting him. The master invites him to step outside the gym to discuss the matter privately. Once outside, Alex tells him it would be better to talk another day. Many children with their parents will arrive soon. He wouldn't like them to see them arguing. Enraged, Victor orders his bodyguard to attack him. However, the master ends up knocking him down without much difficulty. The thug stands up determined, but the result remains the same. Alex simply hits him with all his strength, but since he keeps insisting, he has no choice but to apply a hold. He does not want to see them again in his gym. As night falls, the master receives a visit from Samantha, who tells him she is desperate because of Victor. Every time she tries to rebuild her own life, she cannot because the father of her son will not leave her alone. Alex advises her to file a restraining order. However, Samantha tells him she already has one, but he does not care about the law. She would like to report him, but she is afraid of what he might do. Desperate because of the situation, she hugs the master. In the end, they end up having relations. The next morning, while they have breakfast, Alex tells her that 1 week before his last fight, the doctors informed him he was sterile because of the surgeries. Even so, he decided to show up to the fight, but his head was spinning. In fact, he was not knocked out. He ended up surrendering. He let his rival choke him. He had never told anyone. Days after the fight, he decided to end the relationship. She agreed with his condition, but deep down he knew it was wrong. That is why he decided to leave her, so she could build her life. She was 8 years younger than him. She could not give up being a mother. The first days were quite hard, but she eventually overcame it. Some time later, Alex receives 2 new students, both over 30 years old. One of them comments that it has been a long time since he trained. The last time was when he was around 10 years old. However, the master finds it strange. His movements are not those of a beginner. To avoid problems, Alex clarifies that there are white belts in the class. Therefore, he will not allow direct hits. Even so, the men end up hurting 2 of his students. Keeping calm, Alex approaches them and asks them to leave, making it clear that their behavior is not that of true practitioners. Ethan apologizes, but then asks if he has ever thought that his classes measure up to a military martial art. Noticing that the man adopts a combat stance, Alex asks them again to leave. However, when they were about to go, the other attacks him by surprise. The master, who is already prepared, dodges the blows and knocks him down with a kick. Alex insists that he does not want to continue the fight, but the man gets back into guard, forcing him to respond. The instructor lands every strike with precision and knocks him down again. The supposed practitioner stands up for the 3rd time. Although the result once again plays against him, Alex repeats that he does not wish to keep fighting, but both refuse to leave. After applying a powerful hold, the second man runs to help his partner, but one of the students manages to stop him in time. Alex asks his student to step aside. They position themselves in the center, and just when they were about to start the second confrontation,
La policía está al caer.
that same afternoon, Julie's daughter and one of her friends approach Alex to ask him for money for an ice cream. He gives them some cash so they can buy it. However, just when they were about to return to the gym, 2 hooded men get out of a van and kidnap them. As the minutes pass, Julie begins to panic and asks the master if he has seen them. Alex replies that he thought they were with her. When he checks through the back door, he finds the ice creams thrown on the ground. Upon understanding what has happened, he immediately calls the authorities. When the police arrive at the place, they question the students and ask about the security cameras. However, none of them point toward the exterior. After the officers leave, Alex approaches Julie to try to calm her. He assures her that the police will continue investigating and that they should go home to rest. Julie replies that she does not want to rest. The only thing she wants is to keep searching for them and that she will not stop until she finds them. Finally, she breaks down in tears and Alex hugs her to comfort her. 1 week later, with no news about the girls' whereabouts, Julie thanks Alex for everything he has done to try to find them. At the police station, they told her that he shows up every day to ask if there is any new information. She also tried to contact her husband to tell him what happened. But she has not been able to do so because he is in a naval training operation under silence and has no access to a phone. He could return at any moment, and Julie does not know how to give him the news. A week has passed. She read on the internet that in some cases kidnapped children are killed during the first 2 hours, and that in other occasions they do not survive beyond the first few days. Alex asks her to stop thinking about that and promises that they will find them. Julie replies that a week has already passed. Alex remains silent without knowing how to comfort her. Finally, she leaves. Noticing that Julie has been in the bathroom for too long, Samantha approaches and knocks on the door, asking if everything is all right. When she receives no response, she begins to worry. Faced with the silence, Alex decides to open the door with his keys. When he enters, he finds her unconscious on the floor, with her anxiety pills scattered beside her. In the following scenes, it is revealed that the girls are still alive. They remain held in a closed place and are fed daily by an armed man who demands absolute silence. Distressed, Violetta gathers courage and asks him if they will ever see their parents again. The kidnapper responds by hitting her with a weapon and reminds her that they are forbidden to speak. He warns that if she does it again, he'll shoot her in front of everyone. On the other hand, when Samantha goes to drop her son off with Victor, he asks if she is still seeing the trainer. She replies that it is none of his business. Victor mentions that he heard about the disappearance of the girls and comments that their parents must be suffering, that it is the worst thing that can happen to a parent. Then he apologizes for what happened earlier with the trainer and adds that Terry cannot stop talking about his classes at the gym. It is clear that it is his passion. He also tells her that if he can do anything to help find them, he will gladly do it. He asks if the police have any leads. Samantha thanks him for the gesture but admits that unfortunately there is no information. Before saying goodbye, Victor tells her to be careful. He does not want his son to be the next to disappear. He would not know how to react in such a situation. 2 weeks later, after teaching a class where he shows techniques to react to an imminent armed attack, one of Alex's colleagues approaches him with new information. He investigated Terry's father and discovered that he has Australian military training. He left the army and later moved to live in Romania. Beyond the restraining order from his wife, his record is completely clean. Even so, they still have no clue about the girls. And the more time passes, the lower the chances of finding them alive. Meanwhile, Julie remains admitted in the hospital. The doctors believe what happened was a suicide attempt. She assured Alex that it is not her intention, that she only wanted to stop the pain she felt at that moment. But the truth is that she is completely devastated. That same afternoon, Alex receives an unexpected visit. It is Gomez, the current champion, who has challenged him several times. When he notices the posters about the missing girls, Gomez adopts a respectful attitude and tells him he would like to enroll in his classes. To everyone's surprise, the boxer follows the gym's rules, and he carries out every instruction without questioning them. After the practice ends, he approaches the master to speak privately. He confesses that when he started his career, he made himself a promise. To become a true champion, he had to face him and defeat him. Alex replies that he is already the world champion, that there is no point in challenging him now. At that moment, Gomez reveals that he knows the truth about his last fight. He surrendered by his own decision. He was in his best stage and nobody could defeat him. It is obvious that he did it on purpose. Alex admits that he is no longer the man from 10 years ago. He says he is approaching old age, that he has not fought in a long time and has gone through several surgeries. Even if he managed to defeat him, it would mean nothing, but he will accept his challenge anyway. They put on the gloves and move toward the center. Alex takes the initiative and throws the first movements, but his rival responds with precise counterattacks. In a quick action, our protagonist manages to apply a hold. Gomez stays calm and manages to break free. Both fight for control, rolling on the floor several times while trying to dominate the other. During the first 5 minutes, the fight remains balanced. Each one looks for the smallest mistake from the other to secure a decisive hold. However, the situation begins to become complicated for the champion when the master lands a series of powerful blows that leave him stunned. Without giving him space to recover, he keeps pressing until he knocks him down with a powerful right hand. The next morning, Samantha waits for Victor so he can bring Terry. She tries to call him several times but gets no answer. Since that day she was supposed to meet Alex, she sends him a message saying she will arrive late because of Victor. More than an hour has already passed, and he still does not respond. With barely 10% battery left on her phone, she decides to send him another message telling him she'll go to look for him at his house. When she arrives at the residential complex, she knocks on the door, but no one answers. Faced with the silence, she decides to enter through the garage, and while observing the area, she receives a shocking surprise. Victor's bodyguard is holding a girl captive with clear signs of abuse. The man locks her inside her cage and covers the entrance with old metal sheets to hide it. When the man heads toward his vehicle, he notices that one of the doors is open. Believing he left it that way by mistake, he closes it, not knowing that Samantha is inside. Desperate, Samantha begins to investigate the garage, and while checking a trash container, she finds the shoes that Violetta was wearing the day of her disappearance. She quickly tries to ask for help with her phone, but realizes that she has no signal. Even so, she decides to take the risk and enters the hidden area that the man had recently covered. When she discovers the girls locked inside cages, she tries to send her location to her new partner through a text message, but it fails to send due to the lack of signal. At that moment, the thug discovers her and knocks her unconscious with a blow to the head. When he locks her inside one of the cages, Violetta recognizes her immediately. By an unexpected coincidence, just 3 seconds before the phone runs out of battery, the signal returns and the message manages to be sent. Upon receiving the message, Alex immediately copies the address into the GPS. He heads toward the location at full speed. When Samantha regains consciousness, she finds herself in front of Victor. He explains that he was about to take Terry, but ended up busy talking with some Romanians to sell the merchandise. He confesses that he has gone days without sleeping because of that matter, and now, to his surprise, he discovers that his ex-wife is trying to ruin his business. Distressed, Samantha asks him about her son. Victor replies that she should not worry because she will never see him again. Then he reveals something even more disturbing. He always loved her and not his son if he took care of the boy. It was only to have a reason to see her and continue meeting her.
¿Desde cuándo eres un monstruo?
Siempre lo he sido. Y ahora que lo nuestro se ha acabado, el crío me importa un carajo.
¡Que te jodan, Víctor!
¿Qué has hecho? Ahora verás lo que te espera.
After that confession, Victor hits her hard on the head and leaves her unconscious. Then he approaches the girls and tells them they can scream all they want. They are isolated several kilometers away, and no one will be able to hear them. When he returns to the living room, he orders his soldier to call Terry. The boy has been playing in his room for more than 3 hours, and when he speaks with his son, he explains that his mother came looking for him, but left after leaving the vehicle in the garage. He tells him that he must get ready because they will make a very long trip. Just when the master arrives at the address, he sees Victor leaving with Terry in Samantha's car. Instead of approaching quietly, he decides to knock on the door and shout her name. Fortunately, the thug guarding the place was listening to music with his headphones at full volume. Upon hearing the instructor's voice, the girls begin hitting the bars in desperation. Alex hears the blows, but cannot locate them immediately, and while inspecting the place, he discovers another area where he finds several empty cages with children's clothes inside, a disturbing sign of what is happening in the house. However, he continues calling Samantha until she regains consciousness. Desperate, Samantha and Violetta begin screaming with all their strength. This time, Alex manages to identify the hidden area, and to break the chain, he uses a metal pipe and manages to force the entrance. When he enters, Samantha begs him to free the girls first. Alex uses the pipe to break the locks and takes them out one by one quickly. Finally, he frees Samantha and unties her. At that moment, he realizes that one of the girls is still inside the cage, too weak to stand up. Without hesitation, our protagonist takes her in his arms. While they prepare to leave, Samantha reveals that Victor is sick and that he planned to send them to Romania. Violetta adds that the man who feeds them is armed and extremely violent. He pushed Jenny, who hit her head hard. They need to take her to the hospital immediately. When they leave the area where they were being held captive, Samantha tells Alex that when she arrived at the place, she saw a van with the keys on the dashboard. They must go to the garage as soon as possible. While the girls get into the vehicle, the trafficker regains consciousness. He realizes that they have escaped and grabs his weapon, running to stop them, but it is already too late. Meanwhile, Victor receives the news of what happened. Filled with rage, he calls Samantha to threaten her. Alex advises her not to answer, because when they reach the police station, they will be able to start the procedure to track him. However, desperate and terrified, Samantha decides to answer the second call. She fears what might happen to her son. Victor tells her that she can keep the 2 girls from the gym, but he demands that they return the other 4. He warns her not to inform the police, and that only then will he return Terry. Samantha threatens him, saying that he can no longer do anything, that they are 5 minutes away from arriving at the police station. Furious, Victor pulls out a knife and cuts off one of his own son's fingers. He warns that if they hand the girls over at the police station, he will send a piece of Terry every day until nothing remains. Alex intervenes and asks him to stop. He tells him they will do what he asks, but that he must not hurt an innocent child. They agree to meet at his gym. Victor makes it clear that if he sees a police officer or anything suspicious, he will torture Terry until he kills him. When they arrive at the gym, Alex realizes that Jenny is no longer responding. He checks her pulse and discovers that she has died. A few minutes later, Victor arrives at the place accompanied by all his men. They cut the building's fuses to leave it without power, activating only the backup battery. Then Victor calls Samantha to inform her that his men will enter the gym. They must hand over the girls if they want to get Terry back. Alex responds that they must deliver the boy first. Otherwise, there will be no deal. Furious, Victor hangs up the call while insulting the master. Before his men enter, Victor gives them instructions. He wants them to capture Alex alive. Because he wants to kill him personally, he also orders them to wear masks to avoid the cameras. Milan will be the only one carrying a weapon because he does not want the merchandise to suffer any damage. According to him, it should not be complicated. Alex is just a karate instructor. They must split up and enter from the sides. After securing the girls in one of the rooms, our protagonist prepares to face the traffickers. Using his martial arts skills, he surprises the first ones without even receiving a single blow. After taking down the first group, he notices that two of them are entering from the upper floor. When he goes up the stairs, one of the traffickers tries to surprise him with a knife. However, Alex manages to dodge it, countering the attack in a forceful way. While moving forward in silence, Alex surprises Milan, who tries to hold on to the weapon. During the struggle, the gun goes off, alerting the other trafficker. In a quick movement, Alex manages to disarm him and begins to hit him with force. He lands several knee strikes to his head until he leaves him stunned. Then he removes his balaclava and throws him to the first floor with a kick. When he hears Samantha's screams, he runs back to the room and grabs the trafficker who is trying to enter. Securing the door, however, the man attacks him from behind and tries to strangle him. Alex manages to injure his leg using the doorknob and frees himself. Showing no mercy, he stabs the knob into his neck repeatedly until he finishes him. After that, he takes the weapon and asks Samantha to open the door. He hands her the gun and orders her that if someone manages to enter, she must shoot without hesitation. He warns her that they must not leave under any circumstances and that she must be ready for anything. Unable to process what has just happened, Alex begins rubbing his hands nervously. At that moment, he hears that one of the traffickers is forcing one of the exits. Unexpectedly, Milan regains consciousness and challenges him to a second round. With clear superiority, Alex strikes him with a barrage of attacks and finally finishes him with a kick. The trafficker falls to the ground and hits his head hard, becoming unconscious again. Shortly after, the rest of the traffickers manage to enter the building. The master throws himself against them with all his strength. Despite being knocked out several times, some of the traffickers stand up again to continue the fight. However, Alex responds each time with more fury. His holds are no longer meant to knock them unconscious, but to finish them off, brutally breaking their necks. While he neutralizes one of the men, Milan appears for the third time and surprises him with several powerful blows. Alex is already exhausted after the multiple fights, and this time Milan seems to have control. He grabs his face and strikes his spine with his knuckles. For a moment, the master seems to be out of the fight. But just when Milan is about to kill him with a knife, Alex gathers his last strength, manages to disarm him and knocks him down with a left hook. Both remain lying on the ground, unable to get up. With his body at the limit and his nervous system completely exhausted, Alex manages to stand up. Then he applies a hold that breaks one of the trafficker's arms. Immediately after, he pushes him against a window, breaks the glass with his head, and uses the fragments to cut his neck, ending his rival once and for all. Meanwhile, seeing that his men are taking too long, Victor orders Ethan to go look for them. When Ethan encounters Alex, he challenges him directly, and both position themselves in the center to fight. The trafficker manages to dodge most of the attacks and takes advantage of every mistake to land blows. Even so, Alex remains firm until he finally manages to land several hits, Desperate Ethan grabs a plastic weapon and manages to gain advantage for a moment. To balance the fight, Alex grabs a bamboo stick with which he blocks the attacks. In an unexpected move, both end up disarming each other, and the master regains control of the fight. Consumed by rage, Alex breaks both of his arms. Finally, he strangles him brutally until he finishes him. Suddenly, Victor appears with Terry, and pointing with a pistol, he orders Alex to remain on the ground. Seeing all his men dead around him, he admits that he is surprised. He thought he was just a simple karate instructor. Then he asks about the girls. Alex lies and tells him they are not in the gym, that they actually left them at the police station. Then Victor points the weapon at his own son. At that moment, Samantha appears with a pistol and shouts at him to stop. Knowing that she has no experience with weapons, Victor mocks her and orders her to shoot. With a little luck, maybe she will end up shooting her own son. Unable to do it, Samantha leaves the pistol on the ground. She tries to persuade him not to hurt him. However, Victor insults her and accuses her of being a liar. She has 3 seconds to hand over the girls or he will shoot Terry in the head. He begins to count, and in a desperate attempt to save the boy, Alex and Samantha jump at the same time. The trafficker fires. Unlike Samantha, Alex receives 3 gunshots. Despite the wounds, the master crawls closer to Victor. He orders him to look him in the eyes. Before sending him to the other world, he wants him to look at him directly. He tells him that everything that is happening is his fault, that if he had not interfered, none of this would have happened. But in an unexpected moment, Alex manages to disarm him and both begin struggling for the pistol. He rips off his balaclava and directs the weapon toward his head, causing Victor to end up shooting himself with his own hands. Weakened by the loss of blood, Alex falls to the ground and begins to lose consciousness. When everything seems lost, Samuel appears just in time. It turns out that when they were going to take the girls to the police station, Samuel saw them in the van and decided to follow them. 3 weeks later, we see Samantha pushing our protagonist's wheelchair, accompanied by Terry. Alex has just left the hospital, and to give him a warm welcome, the parents of his students have prepared a surprise. When she sees him after so long, Violetta runs to hug him. She hands him a handmade poster. Shortly after, Julie approaches together with her husband, who has just returned. Both thank him once again for everything he did. They tell him they will always be in his debt, that words are not enough to express what they feel. Alex replies that there is no need to thank him because he considers them part of his family.
De corazón, gracias.